Reverend Father Saiji Thakur, respected Principal Sister Maria Swati, teachers and my dear friends. Good afternoon to all of you. Today I, Harsheen Kaur, school people leader, on behalf of all the students and teachers, is extremely thankful to Dr. Manu Arora for taking some time and organizing such a wonderful Zoom session for all of us today. We're extremely elated to thank our dear Father Saiji Thakur and our dear Principal Sister Maria Swati for taking so much of trouble and making us aware of this Zoom session. We are beyond grateful. Speaking about Dr. Manu Arora, he is a well-known psychiatrist of Jammu and Kashmir. He did his MBBS from Government Medical College, Jammu. He, after doing his MBBS, took his psychiatry training from Central Institute of Psychiatry in Ranchi. Dr. Manu Arora, before returning to India, practiced in Australia. He is an active researcher and has published more than 35 articles internationally as well as nationally. Dr. Manu Arora is an active promoter of mental health issues and de-stigmatizing psychiatric illness through his lectures, through print media, and through everything. He is passionate about making people aware of mental health issues. In today's Zoom session, Dr. Manu Arora will tell us about how to handle anxiety during the lockdown, which rightly is the greatest need of the hour. I would like to conclude once again by thanking Dr. Manu Arora for making some time for us, our dear Father Saiji Thakur, our respected Principal Sister Maria Swati, and our dear teachers for taking so much of trouble for us. Thank you and hope you have a wonderful session ahead.
Thank you, Harsheen, for that words of welcome, generous words of welcome. And now I request Dr. Manu Arora to start his input session and also enlighten our students and staff.
Yes. I'm audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Okay. See, this is a phase which we never ever have expected this to happen to any of us. Say about a couple of months back, before the start of this year, we never heard about a viral illness producing such a havoc, or we were not even prepared for something, or we were not even prepared to know what virus can do. And somebody, if would have said like virus, we would have thought about a computer virus rather than an actual virus. But this changed. Everything changed. And by the starting of the January and thereafter, and by the middle of February, probably each and every part of the world started getting affected. India was no exception. Starting from a particular place in China, regarding origin of this virus is not still very clear, but it seems that virus sometimes, what happens that it jumps species. Normally the virus is very specific to a particular species. Some virus which acts in a particular animal, it stays with that animal. There are certain viruses which are specific to humans and they're likely to stay in humans. These viruses do not switch on from humans to animals. Similarly, this virus was supposed to be in bats or another animal species, but somehow it jumped into humans. And finding a particular host like humans and then growing within the humans and then possibly shifting from one human to another. And since we were not exposed to anything like this virus, it started going like a fire, and from one person to another, and a couple of months, it has spread to almost every part of the world, even the most isolated islands throughout the world. So there are places which hardly have any world exchange of humans, but still the virus is equally creating problems there also. Very small population to a large population, countries like China, India, US, all of us, we have problems just because there is some change in the social structure, there's some change in population structure, so the virus might have different ways to express in certain countries because of a health system, but we are affected. See, I just talked about that we were not very sure about what this virus is likely to do to us. Within, say, a couple of months, things have changed. Coronavirus and later changed the name to COVID-19 virus. We were not expecting it to create such problems. None of the students, none of the teachers, we as doctors were expecting this to change. But somehow it did change. By March, as all of us, we know that to slow the spread of virus, we were into a phase of lockdown. Many of our students, they were during their examination time at that point of time, specifically the 10th students, the 12th students. They had their exams, some of them they had finished, but some of them they had certain exams to go about it. Thereafter, the new classes were to be started, but it could not be because of the restrictions of because of this virus. And somehow each one of us, we have found that this has changed the way we live, the way we have interacted, the way our enjoyment was there, the way we used to interact with people, whatever it was, but it has changed. This change has happened to all of us. We as doctors also have, our life has also very much changed. There are other doctors who are in emergency duties, isolation duties, dealing with patients with COVID-19. And somehow all of us, we are in a difficult phase. Just because of the fact that this virus is new, we were not very sure, and we still are not very sure of what this virus does to the human beings. It can be very mild and it can be more severe as well. But the good point is that for majority of people, it is found to be a very mild virus. On an average, it is found to be a very mild virus. But for some people, but because it affects the population in an exponential, like supposedly when I talk about that one-to-one spread, if it is there very gradually, so we have an equipped health system to deal with it. But supposedly if it happens to hundreds and thousands and lakhs and crores of people, our health system crumbles, like it has happened in many countries like Italy and America. So they are going through this phase. So the similar phase, if it happens in our place, we are not prepared for it. Our health system is still not much prepared for it, though we are trying our best, our administration is trying for the best. So what options we had in our hand was to maintain distance and to slow the spread of disease or somehow curb the spread of disease. So there were quarantine centers. Students and teachers were not coming, still are not coming to the school, and we do not know for how long this will happen, but it is likely to happen for a couple of months. And it can change. See, what knowledge we now have, it might change just because the level of the vaccines or the treatment available. So this virus itself, this infection itself has caused a change in the way we look towards the environment. The amount of stability and the amount of fearlessness we had from the environment, that outlook itself has changed. Never one of us would even expect that this infectious things can be so devastating that it changes the way we live, it changes the way we interact, it changes the way we get ourselves educated, it changes the way we deal with the environment. On the whole, just to talk about this virus, it is a highly infectious virus, but it is not a very lethal virus. For majority of people who get infected, it is supposed to be a very mild virus. It presents with certain flu-like symptoms only for a couple of days, and a person becomes well. And majority of them, they will not even require hospitalization. So just to make people aware of certain things, I tend to keep on repeating that this virus is tend to be a very mild illness. So people see it from an angle of a devastating sort of illness, which is not the fact. You'll be surprised to know that certain other viruses of which we are quite aware of, they are more devastating. For example, dengue virus. For example, illnesses like malaria. For example, illnesses like even malnutrition causes more of damage than this virus can cause in totality throughout the world. So there are bigger problems to deal with. There are bigger things to talk about. But just by the fact that this is new, and a lot of hype has been created because of the media and because with the way we have talked and the way it has affected our lives, that has started generating so much of fear that it is become a part of that. Fear itself has become a part of our lives. Coming to the fact that children, the students and the teachers, they are one of the worst affected because the whole life has changed. The future, the dreams, the plans. Supposedly class 12 students, he was supposed to prepare for certain entrances and he was planning for a future. Similarly, 10th class students, they were planning for a future. So this has somehow changed. Our methods of teaching have changed. The way we have interacted has changed. It has brought a new virtual world uh, instead of reality world. So no one of us, we thought that, or even I thought that I'll be interacting with you all through, not through a reality experience, but through a virtual experiences. So our knowledge about this virtual world has further enhanced, and we've become more mobile dependent and technology dependent. Apart from the fact that just because this virus is new and this fear is new and the fear about this infection is new, it has caused the change in the mental status of the people in and around. Most of us, because we are not interacting socially, we have gone into a stage of loneliness because there are not people around us. Most of our pleasure is gone. Most of our uh, the way we have dealt with the family, the way we have dealt with our friends, teachers, that itself is gone. The way we have studied is gone. So probably a lot of changes have happened in the last, say, about 3 months. And just because any fear is based on the level of uncertainty of what is likely to happen. आगे क्या होगा हमारे साथ, कब तक ऐसा चलेगा, कब तक ऐसा ही रहेगा, कब तक हम स्कूल नहीं जा पाएंगे, कब तक हम टीचर से नहीं मिल पाएंगे, कब तक हम अपने फ्रेंड से हाथ नहीं मिला पाएंगे, या we'll not able to shake hands with our friends, whatever. Till what time we'll not be able to go to a function, we'll not be able to see a birthday party and see that affection from our teachers. So probably these things are affecting us. As doctors, we are getting affected. We do not know to what level this infection will affect us, and what will be a stage in which actually the health system will get crippled, and what will that stage be, and whether that stage can be avoided at all or not. You'll be surprised to know that this comes with the fact that for a couple of years, though we have been a number of problems and our state has been a number of problems, but this was the most peaceful times of earth. I keep on repeating the fact that the last couple of decades have been the most peaceful times on earth. So this was a time for prosperity, development. Things had happened. There was technology and things were improving. But finally, this viral infection has somehow brought into the things do not, even the best of things, they do not last. The worst of things do not last. But said so, I would still emphasize upon the fact that this is an infectious illness, but this is not a lethal illness. People, because of the amount of media importance given to it and the amount of repetition which has happened over the period of last 3 months and the amount of chaos it has produced, the amount of change it has produced to our lives, it has somehow caused a change in the mental status of us. There are people who have started feeling lonely. There are people who started feeling worthless, useless, and the people who have been anxious or fearful about the experience, and always a thing in the back of the mind that probably this is not likely to go away. So this is somehow the people see it, which is actually not true. So having said so, Father, do you want me to take up certain questions?
Yes, maybe to just to give a start. I think
Yes.
Yeah. Also to feel the participation, and then maybe based on that question, you may have something more to add on to. Yeah.
So
sure.
do I wait for people to ask me questions?
Yes, I think we can make it open for everyone now. So in case you have a question, you can just say your name.
The information which is required, that must pass on.
Yes. Otherwise, of course, we have the questions from the teachers.
So do we have parents also who have joined us? So I'll be in non-technical language then.
I think there could be parents, because all the students are joining from their own homes. So naturally, I think there will be parents listening in.
More casual and
yes, absolutely.
more understandable to every one of
Yes.
us.
So,
Yes, please.
Yes, Kajal and Parampreet, you can accordingly take over, or maybe you can post the first question to sir, that was been already, we have already shared the
Start
question.
talking about it. Yes.
Yeah.
So, sir, hi, I'm Kajal. So,
Right.
so student has asked some common questions. So first one is, what are the symptoms of the anxiety and how can we overcome it?
Okay. See, anxiety is nothing but a response of a body to a stimulus. The stimulus can be real, it could be an imagined. ये सही में भी हो सकता है और हमारे मन की एक धारणा भी हो सकती है, हमारे मन का एक ख्याल भी हो सकता है. Anxiety in local language can be घबराहट, बेचैनी, परेशानी. Depending upon the physical symptoms, हमारे body के कुछ symptoms को देखते हुए, it can be certain symptoms of restlessness, edginess, fears, worries, and unrealistic concerns about things around us. See, at every phase of life, when there is a change in our life, we have to adjust. And not all adjustments are to the level what we normally imagine of ourselves. There are times when we are not able to fit in the best way we want it to be. And then we start contemplating, हम इस बारे में सोचना शुरू करते हैं कि क्या हमने गलत किया, क्या हम लोग सही कर रहे हैं, और कुछ अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशंस हमारे से बन जाती है. जब ये अनरियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेशन बन जाती है, वो एक डर की भावना, एक सोच की भावना हमारे मन में डालती है और हमारा शरीर उसी तरीके से रिस्पॉन्ड करता है. डर, घबराहट, बेचैनी, परेशानी, सोच, नेगेटिव ख्याल, आगे क्या होगा, जिंदगी में क्या होने वाला है, और बहुत सारे बॉडी के सिम्टम्स जैसे कि रेस्टलेसनेस महसूस होना, धड़कन तेज होना, गला सूखना, शिवरिंग होना, वीकनेस फील करना, एजीनेस फील करना, एजिटेटेड फील करना, कंसंट्रेट नहीं कर पाना, और बहुत सारे बॉडी के सिम्टम्स जैसे कि बहुत सारे लोग हार्ट बीट के साथ प्रेजेंट करते हैं, बहुत सारे लोग स्टमक अपसेट के साथ प्रेजेंट करते हैं, बहुत सारे लोग गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टाइनल अपसेट के साथ प्रेजेंट करते हैं, बहुत सारे बॉडी के सिम्टम्स ट्रेमर्स के साथ प्रेजेंट करते हैं. जो बॉडी के बहुत सारे सिम्टम्स, कुछ ऐसी सोच जो आदमी को परेशान करती है, कुछ ऐसे वरीसम सोच रहती है, उस पार्ट को हम लोग एंजाइटी समझते हैं. एंजाइटी हम सब में होती है, ऐसा कोई इंसान नहीं है जिसको एंजाइटी ना हो. कोई इंसान ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, स्टूडेंट हो, प्रोफेशनल हो, मैं हूं या आप हूं. थोड़ी सी एंजाइटी हम लोग को स्टिमुलेट करती है आगे बढ़ने के लिए, आगे पढ़ने के लिए, काम करने के लिए, डील करने के लिए. अगर बिल्कुल एंजाइटी नहीं होगी तो वो बहुत डम सा एक्सपीरियंस होगा, बहुत ही एमोटिवेटेड सा एक्सपीरियंस होगा. अगर सडनली आपको लेक्चर देने जाना है, या आपको लोगों से मिलना है, या आपको लोगों से बात करनी है, या एक अनफेमिलियर सा सिचुएशन में जाना है, तो थोड़ी परेशानी, वो थोड़ा सा एजीनेस, वो थोड़ा सा रेस्टलेसनेस हम लोग को थोड़ा स्टिमुलेट करता है उस जगह के साथ डील करने के लिए. वो हल्का सा जो हमारी बॉडी के अंदर एक टेंसनेस आता है, दैट मेक्स अस टू डील विद द सिचुएशन. बट once it becomes overwhelmed or it becomes increased in intensity or something what we cannot control, then it starts inhibiting us. So it is also to learn about having a small amount of anxiety which further stimulates us, and to also understand about the excessive anxiety which inhibits us. पर जब ये एंजाइटी, ये डर, ये घबराहट, ये बेचैनी, ये कंसंट्रेशन ना होना जब बहुत बढ़ जाता है, ये हम लोग को इनहिबिट करना स्टार्ट कर देता है. देखिए, ज्यादातर लोगों को, हर इंसान एक जैसा नहीं है, हर टीनेजर एक जैसा नहीं है, हर स्टूडेंट एक जैसा नहीं है. So every one of us, we are unique. We have certain qualities and we have certain different ways to deal with the situation, similar situation maybe. And because of a genetic makeup, हम लोग को जो जीन्स मिले पेरेंट्स की वजह, पेरेंट्स से, और जो सिचुएशन और जो हम लोगों ने जिंदगी में देखा है आसपास, अपने आसपास में बढ़ते हुए थ्रू आउट अपने लाइफ्स, उसकी वजह से हम सब लोग में थोड़ा नेचर का डिफरेंस है, कुछ नेचुरल डिफरेंस है. जो मेरे लिए एंजाइटी है वो हो सकता है किसी और के लिए एंजाइटी ना हो. मुझे स्टेज पे खड़ा होने में, लोगों के सामने बात करने में थोड़ा सा डर महसूस होता है। किसी को बहुत अच्छा भी लग सकता है, किसी को इतना भी डर लग सकता है कि वो कभी खड़ा ना भी हुआ हो स्टेज में, और किसी को ना खड़ा होना सोच के हंसी भी आएगी। तो बहुत सारे लोग अलग अलग तरीके से डील करते हैं, और एंजाइटी हम सब लोगों में अलग अलग तरीके से रहती है। पर टीनेजर्स, स्पेसिफिकली स्टूडेंट्स में कुछ एंजाइटी ज्यादा रहती है बिकॉज ऑफ सर्टेन हार्मोनल प्लेज व्हिच हैपेंस एट अ पर्टिकुलर स्टेज। ये एक हार्मोनल सर्ज जो रहता है, this is required in our body, this is required for us to get adapted to the circumstances, to get adapted to the situation where this is a pushing sort of a thing, but somehow sometimes it is not in balance. जैसे कि बहुत सारी चीजें बैलेंस में नहीं होती, it stimulates us more than what is required. But for majority of us, is if it is given time for us to get accustomed to or get used to, this anxiety settles down. But some people, for some teenagers, maybe students, having a great deal of anxiety can be overtly overwhelming, and they lead to a lot of confirming attitude and maybe a perfectionist attitude, which starts inhibiting them. Coming to the, yes, please.
No, sir, carry on.
Yes. So how to deal with this? There's no specific answer for which will help everybody, but there are certain genuine rules. See, for people who have a lot of anxiety, a lot of issues to deal with anxiety, they need to have certain people around them so that this anxiety is dissipated, or this anxiety diffuses out. It can be friends, it can be a family member, it can be one of the parent, it can be good friends, it can be long-lasting friends, it can be people, small people in and around us. But there should be people who are ready to listen to you. Not every one of us will find those sort of people, and many sort of people. There are a couple of people around us who tend to give us an ear at the time of distress. The more we vent it out, the more comfortable it becomes for us. It is also a good habit to trace your anxiety to a specific stimulus. बजाय कि ऐसे सोचने के लिए कि मैं बहुत घबराया हुआ हूं, या बहुत परेशान हूं, या बहुत परेशान रहती हूं, इससे ज्यादा अच्छा अपने आप को समझाना है कि मैं इस वजह से परेशान हूं. See, once anxiety is vague, it is diffuse, it has no specific input to it, it makes us more edgy than we have a particular input to it. मैं इस सब्जेक्ट की वजह से परेशान हूं, या मैं इस टीचर की वजह से परेशान हूं, या मैं इस पर्टिकुलर वजह से परेशान हूं. इस वजह को अगर मैं ठीक कर सकूं तो मेरी एंजाइटी कम होगी. सो व्हेन वी टॉक टू पीपल, एंड when we talk about our anxiety, and when we talk about our fears, we tend to make that generalized fear to a specific stimulus. So it's a good idea to talk about fear and to make it more pinpoint to a specific stimulus. Vague fear is very difficult to handle, but once we talk about fear, and once we talk about anxiety, and you tend to make it very specific to a particular point, then it is more likely that you know what to do. So basically it's about that you know your enemy. So instead of getting fearful about something will happen, you have an idea of what will happen and what is likely to happen. But said so, this anxiety is normally specific to certain age groups, to a specific part of the age as well. As I just said, that's because of the certain hormonal surge at the time of teenage or at the time of early adolescence, and as and when you get accustomed to the changing world, and maybe your priorities in life and your vague choices becoming more specific choices, it is likely that over a period of time, this anxiety will go down. As you get older, as you get mature, there are certain other anxieties which will take over rather than anxiety. So anxiety is always a dynamic phenomenon. It keeps on changing. It's not similar. Some things which makes you anxious now will change what will make you anxious over a period of time. So it can be studies at one point of time, it can be relationships another point of time, it can be parents at another point of time. So these things will change. So this anxiety, we as humans are meant to feel distress about certain, angst about certain things. That stimulus makes us to adapt to certain changes. And once the change is there, we adapt when we change to an anxiety, or when we switch to an anxiety, we evolve as a better human being. Some things which make us disturbed now make us laugh after a while. कुछ चीजें जो आज हमारे साथ जिंदगी में चल रही हैं, कल इन्हीं सब चीजों को देख के हंसी भी आती है। पर अपने अपने फेज की बात है। आपके लिए जो कुछ चीजें आज इंपॉर्टेंट है, मेरे लिए शायद नहीं है, पर कुछ सालों के बाद वो आपके लिए भी नहीं होंगी, कुछ देर के बाद आपके लिए भी नहीं होंगी। Yes, please, another question.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Parampreet. Next
Yes.
question is, students often have mood swings that
Yes.
leads to sadness. How to stay positive and not let the negative thoughts cloud you?
Okay. See,
Thank you, sir.
there is no person who can say that I do not feel bad at times. There could be nobody, including me, including possibly all the teachers, all the staff members available, and all the students who are a part of this meeting right now, or anybody else. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that we are humans, and one of a basic human emotion is to feel sad, is to feel bad, is to feel blue, it is to feel low at times, and to feel anxious also at times. So we tend to feel bad. So none of us, we can say that we do not feel bad at times. It can be irritable. We are humans, and humans are likely to experience a range of emotions, from irritable to sadness, to feeling bad, to feeling low, to feeling excited, to feeling jovial, and over and out of this world as well at times. But specifically, when I talk with students and when I go to their levels to understand, it is about they're struggling with the time they are in. So most of you as students, and we're talking about higher secondary students, 11th, 12th, and maybe early college students, you are struggling with your identity, you are struggling with your self-image, you feel need to feel important by the friends. And because you're in a particular phase of life, there is a lot of influence, conflicting influence at times of parents. It can be both parents. It can be one parent being more supportive, another parent being less supportive. It can be an influence of hormones. It can be certain biological changes which are happening inside the body. So what I'm trying to say is that all of us, we are programmed to feel low, to feel bad, दुख महसूस करना, परेशान महसूस करना, अच्छा ना लगना समय समय पर। और इसकी आप जिस फेज में है, बिकॉज आपको बहुत कुछ डील करना है, एक स्टडीज को डील करना है, पेरेंट्स को डील करना है, अपनी आइडेंटिटी को डील करना है, रिलेशनशिप्स को डील करना है, आपस में फ्रेंडशिप को डील करना है, अपनी आइडेंटिटी के साथ डील करना है. सो इट इज मोर लाइकली एंड लॉट ऑफ हॉर्मोन्स टू प्ले. So all of us, we do have a difficult time, which we call as adolescent as a time of crisis, teenager as a time of crisis. So you are accustomed to go through that, and probably you are facing or going through that crisis phase. And certain things which I normally talk about and which I feel that should become a part of your understanding about yourself. First, you're not the only one. So degree might vary, but all of us, we go through that bad phase. So all the students, all the teenagers, all the adolescents, all the early college going students, they have different issues at their level. So something which is more important for you could be less important for another person, but you're not alone. So once we have that feeling that we alone are not who feel low, who are feeling succumb to certain circumstances, so that keeps us going, or that is a stimulus that you're not the only person who's going through a bad phase. So each one of you are having their bad phases in their own way. if you have to understand that you're not the only one, you're not the alone person. But somehow, once we are in that phase, it comes again and again to our mind that probably this is the worst thing which is happening to me, and there's no other person who can go through that bad phase. To deal with it, I always believe that there should be a network of at least a couple of people. It could be parents, it could be good friends, it could be cousins, it could be other relationships in the family, it could be one or two close friends. There should be at least a couple of people, two, three people in and around you whom you trust, who maintain your trust, whom you can talk about anything, who are likely to keep your trust, so that even at difficult times, even at the worst of times, when most of the people they feel that you are down, you at least have a couple of people around you. Another thing which I not talk about is certain about biological functions, which normally not many of us we give respect to these days. I mostly talk about sleep. See, people who sleep nicely, they are protected by these depressive or sadness or these low feelings. If you give respect to your sleep, the body respects your emotions. We are more perturbed, we are more agitated, we are more restless if we do not respect our biological functions. Sleep and sorry, sleep and appetite. So having a nice sleep, when I say about nice sleep, it is about 9 hours of sleep in an average teenager. But what happens because of this social situations, the social media, the mobile phones available, somehow it has caused a major toll on our sleep. You'll be very surprised to know that about 60 or 70 years back, and now our sleep has reduced in comparison to that about an hour in general population, adults included. So our bodies are not accustomed to having less of sleep. That makes certain hormonal disturbances in our brain. We have more of stressful hormones in the body. So what is the bottom line is that if you give more respect to your biological functions, especially sleep, if you have a nice sleep, a couple of hours of a good undisturbed sleep, you are saving yourselves from getting low. Another thing which I normally talk about is the amount of physical activity what we do on a regular basis. So many of us, because of this mobile phones and because of staying inside, I'm not just talking about this corona period, I'm talking about a lifestyle which has been happening for a couple of years, that we have stopped exercising, we have stopped moving out, we have stopped seeing the nature, we have stopped doing certain good things that a body which a body does require. We do not do household work, we do not get engaged into some uh, some stimulus to the body, which is in form of some vigorous exercise. It does not require an hours of exercise, it only requires a couple of minutes in a day. And getting some involvement in your creative work, it could be hobby or one, it can be some creativity for other people. So if you have some sort of enjoyable thing which you regularly get engaged into, is a lot of protection from these low feelings. And said so, all difficult phases, including a low phase, it lasts only for a while. This goes away. Even if you don't struggle with this particular emotion, it is likely if you are patient, if you have patience, or if you're patient, or if you wait for a while, these negative feelings go away. So just wait for a while. So different people have different biological predisposition to feel differently or feeling sad at different times. Girls at a different phase, boys at a different phase, maybe girls in a bit earlier because of their emotional recognition. But these phases are transitory in nature. As we mature, as we deal, as we learn with the environment, it is likely that we overcome most of these things. Yes, please, next question. If I've answered it. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Next question is, students are worried about their board exams in future because of the extended lockdown. Please suggest something.
See, that is how I started my lecture with, is that we do not know for how long this has happened, but we know that this is a couple of months only. This is not years. So this virus has a particular trajectory or has a particular way it infects community. It stays there for a while and finally things improve. So whatever we dealing with, it is likely to stay for a couple of months, though it is very difficult to say for how long, and that uncertainty basically perturbs us or makes us unwell, feeling of unwell, the future. And specifically, some people have a different time. Some, especially I'm talking about class 12 students who've just given their exams. They had a lot of preparation for their entrances and their engineering and medical and graduation and other courses they thought they'll be getting engaged to, which has got changed to a large extent by this coronavirus. But anyhow, coming back, that this has a particular duration to it. And for most of us, for a majority of us in the population, for probably all of us, whosoever is in, it is likely to be it is likely to be not a symptomatic or maybe mildly symptomatic problems for most of us. And a good thing is that for young children and adolescents, it is even a milder part of an illness. So need not worry about time. It's likely just about a couple of weeks, and probably if we get a vaccine or if we get a treatment beforehand, so we'll just be thinking about this bad period as just a bad period about a couple of months, and we'll definitely overcome it. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question is, how can the students benefit from this pandemic?
See, exactly speaking is that that is how I see it, that since we were taking things to be so much granted for us, or we thought that life normally is so good, and it is a very it's a very rare possibility that things cannot go the way we want it to be. But this viral infection throughout the world has probably made us more wiser and made us more resilient and made us more accepting of certain facts that life does not always move in a direction we want it to be. There can be tough times. Probably many of us, we did not face such a tough time before. So this is a learning for us. This is a learning for us to respect things in the world. This is a learning for us to respect nature the way it has to be. Maybe this is a time which makes us understand how to be dealing with the nature to start with, and how to deal with uh, living things in the nature, and how do we interact with it, and how do we understand about relationship, and how do we understand about how small things are important for us, and how things can become really bad over a couple of weeks. So I think that this viral infection has made us learn a lot of things about this resilience and about how to deal with each other and how to deal with an exceptional situation like this, and how people like in and around us, how they are important and how much respect they do deserve from us, just because of the fact that we normally overlook them, and we do not give them the amount of respect they deserve. And these things have changed, and we have started understanding about the small nuisances of life and small things about life, which is a good enough period. We have thought about a relationship, we have thought about the people we've stayed with, and we have thought about the things which happen in and around our family. So I think that this is a good learning experience for most of us, and this is a learning experience to deal with further problems in life if we are likely to happen or we are likely to encounter in the future. Yes, please.
So, sir, these were some common questions from students and parents. Now
Yes.
I would request Khushi to please continue.
Things like,
Yes. So anything which comes to your mind, maybe related to coronavirus or maybe related to normal day-to-day living, whatever it is, but we have to understand it is a difficult time. And it is likely to pass within a couple of months, and things will be as fine as it was a couple of months back. Anything which comes to anybody wants to ask a question, which
so
I think
there is one question that is coming up, which
yes,
there are two questions, but I think we can take it as both the parts. One is
okay.
asking about how to control ourselves, because you already spoken about the anxiety, and that anxiety is real. Everyone can feel anxious, but the question is about how to control ourselves, particularly from taking any wrong steps while we go through this phase of anxiety. That is one. And second is, how do we manage our time during this lockdown as students, particularly? These are two questions that are coming up.
Yes, maybe the related questions. We will try to answer both of them. So see, once this phase started and we were locked down into the families, so initial period was very wonderful period. So we had a break from a school, break from the normal routine. Things were so nice, and we had time with the family, and things, just because it was a change environment, so all of us, it was a jolly period for most of us. But as we started having a gripping of the situation and how it started affecting us lives in terms of studies, in terms of education, in terms of relationships, we started getting perturbed. So about this anxiety, about in this particular period, what things we can do is a couple of points I would ask everybody to go through these things. One is about, even at the time of lockdown period, maintaining some sort of routine for yourselves. So you are definitely caught within the four walls of the house, but there's a plenty of things you can do in the house, and there's a plenty of organization which is possible within your house. So there should be certain schedule which you should follow. I think most of the online classes have started, and there's a pretty some hours of schooling which you are supposed to attend, which should be a part of definitely some structure. And to start with, there should be a time when we sleep, and there should be a time when we get up from our bed. So we should respect that sleep. That is one of my primary concerns. And people, and specifically students, they were haywire about their sleep. And I think it has to be monitored, but it should not be lessened. It should not be curtailed. Have a good sleep, but there should be an organization to a schedule. There should be a time to wake up. And if I say so, if people are not into a regular exercise, this is the right time to start with some amount of physical activity within the house. It could be some amount of stationary cycling or whatever it is. Say about a couple of minutes to about half an hour to an hour of regular strenuous physical exercise is what has to be started, and it has to be followed on. Do maintain your appetite to a large extent. People tend to take a lot of junk foods and a lot of processed food and a lot of things which are already in the packets and which do no health benefits. They are empty calories, probably more of something which is naturally available, vegetables, and some amount of habits about what we eat, or some amount of check on what we eat must be incorporated. Apart from the time, there should be a time for the family, there should be time for studies, there should be time close to nature. I think we need to follow a schedule, and the schedule has to be fairly same every day. And if we tend to follow a particular schedule, this is more likely that our body gets accustomed to it, and which should be very close to what we can follow further on once this lockdown is there. Taking care of your personal hygiene is one thing which has to be emphasized. Yes.
So we have a girl called Sanchi from 11th standard. She has a question. Sanchi, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir, father, principal, and teachers. My name is Sanchi Khajuria, and sir, my question to you is that how can we balance between our approach to unexpected events and studies? Thank you, sir.
See, this is an unexpected stimulus which is happening right now for the last couple of months. So what I'm trying to again emphasize is that we should have a lifestyle, and our lifestyle should be should make us more resilient, and things like this might happen in future as well. But once our approach to life is not all good and we are prepared for certain things, so we train ourselves for that. And the training starts from our family itself. So giving some time to your body, giving some time for exercise, giving respect to your nature around it, giving some respect to your food and to your biological functions is how a body is normally predisposed. Just a minute. Sign. So this is the way we deal with the stimulus. So it is more likely that if we prepare ourselves for some things, some challenging stimulus which can happen to us, we are in a better equipped manner to deal with unexpected stimulus which is happening right now. Certain people who are physically well, certain people who have emotional stability, certain people who have good relationships, the things I was talking about, if we have kept out these things in mind, then probably we are better equipped than many other students. So possibly this is a phase which has made us more wiser in our understanding about what things are important to us in our lives, except from also studies and things like that. So we need to understand about the importance of all these things which this particular phase has made us to understand. So this should be a part of our learning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think most of the questions, sir, you have answered without asking. Their queries have been solved with your speaking. Your talk has solved almost all their queries. But there is another girl called Natasha from 11th standard. She likes to put forward certain questions.
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Natasha. And my question is that students have become extremely sensitive nowadays. Even the tiniest things affect them a lot. How to control that? Thank you, sir.
Okay. So most of the question is almost similar. So being sensitive means reacting badly and reacting overwhelming at times. So this is a part of anxiety. As I've said that there are different phases of life. So these issues change over a period of time. Some things which are more important at a particular stage of life, something which is more important to a student. Certain relationship problems can be more important to a particular age. Teenage has certain issues. Midlife has another issues. We are dealing with another issues. So at a different phase of life, we have different issues to deal with. So we are sensitive about certain facts. Some things which make you worrisome hardly would make another person worrisome about that at a different stage of life. And certain things which are important for him or her at the stage of life would be a matter of fun to you. But the important thing is that if we train ourselves to deal with negative situations in a more positive manner, be physically more equipped to deal with certain stressful events of life, be more resilient, have people around us whom we can confide into. So these things will actually keep us moving throughout our lives in a more positive manner. So it is likely that if we follow a particular schedule at a particular time of life, it is also a vaccination towards vaccination towards a difficult times further in future also. So if I've learned certain skills at this stage of life, it will remain a part of life in future as well. So certain things, see, one thing which I normally keep on emphasizing is that it is not an event which has to be learned down. So this is a lifestyle which has to be gathered. So if it becomes a part of your lifestyle, so you'll be always feeling equipped with dealing with certain stressful. It is not only a single event. So it is not a one-day learning. I say that exercise and one day half an hour exercise you do, and one day things changes for you. If it is that, it is unlikely to help you over a period of time. But if it happens, this certain things which I talked about, if it becomes a part of our life, that over expectation also comes down to a certain level. So this learning will also help us during your stage of life, during a middle stage of life, and at my stage of life as well.
So we have, I know that we are almost running out of time. We have another 10 minutes as per the schedule, and we have one more question from the student that we can take. And then there is also one of our teachers, Zenat, who would like to ask a question. So maybe,
Okay.
Anita, one more question that students can have.
Sakshi, is Sakshi there? Sakshi, the
Yes,
next
yes,
question.
ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
dear.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sir, my question is that it affects us a lot that what others think about us, the fear of being neglected and staying put in this advancing world. Sir, please share some tips so we can improve our emotional stability also.
Yes, see, this emotions is a part of emotions is an interplay of certain biological changes which happen in the body. So the way we think, what is the level of hormonal influence at that point of time in the body, how things have happened just before that, and what we are expecting from the future. So it's a combination of certain things which makes us uh, react at a particular stimulus at that point in time. See, yourself getting prepared to a stimulus itself is getting vaccinated from behaving in an abnormal manner. What I'm trying to say is that if you rehearse your situation, if you are well equipped to deal with certain situations, if you've dealt with certain situations in the past in a more mature manner, it is more likely that you'll be dealing with in the mature manner in future also. But there'll be a time when for a couple of persons for a small percentage of people around you, that these becomes emotionally overwhelming and you're not able to handle it. And at that point of time you might require some sort of help from the parents and sometimes even a professional help. Even do not shy away from that professional help at that point of time. Getting yourself physically well, emotionally prepared, rehearsing certain situations in your mind, and dealing with a particular set of situations over a period of time will make you wiser to deal with situations in a more balanced and emotionally mature manner. Also learning, one thing is also I would something just missed out, that the people we get surrounded by also determine us or determine our emotions a lot. So the people we are around with, our friends around, the teachers, our parents, or whatever people are around us, what is their level of thinking, what is their level of emotional balance also affects us. So try to learn from the best. So if there are a couple of friends in your class and you've always felt that all of us, we are so nervous before exams, and there are a couple of two students and they are so calm before exams and they do such nicely and they're not emotionally overwhelmed, they seem to be balanced. Even at tougher times they have made students learn what is the best way. So see, how do people do other things, how's their level of thinking, and how do they differently react to the same stimulus, how do they maintain their calmness. So learning from the best, learning from the people around you, and choosing your people around you might also make you learn emotionally, and at difficult times getting their help. And if it is overwhelmingly difficult time, getting some professional help is also warranted.
Yes,
Thank you,
Zina.
sir.
Yes, Anita ma'am, thank you. Good afternoon, doctor.
Yes.
Yes, doctor, myself Zinat. I want to ask one question on someone's behalf, that she's dealing with some problem that whenever she sits for studying, she feels sleepy. Though she likes to study, though she is brilliant, but her body doesn't allow her. She went for the HB test, that is quite normal. Her TSH is normal, but still every time, maybe she wants to ask you that, is it psychological or
Yes.
something related to some hormonal imbalance? So how
Yes.
to deal with this thing?
See,
And
obviously, this would require an assessment of the person herself. But certain broader aspects I can talk about is that, see, we need to understand that how restful our sleep is. If somehow by any reason our sleep is disturbed and we are not able to sleep, and supposingly we keep on using mobiles till late night and we tend to sleep and we do not have a restful sleep, it is likely to have the residue during the next day. It is likely to affect our concentration. It is likely to affect our ability to memorize, grasp things. So amount of a good sleep is an indicator of how well our concentration and memorizing power is, which is required for the students. So having an undisturbed sleep is of paramount importance when we talk about a concentration and about excessive fatigability. This is one. Second is about having some time exposure to sunlight in the morning is also required. Our body is predisposed to or our body is programmed in a manner that we have to somehow respect the sleep-wake cycle, has to be somehow coordinated with the sleep-wake cycle of Earth. So somehow to get up in the morning, somehow to follow during the day, and to feel sleepy during the evening, and to have a restful sleep during the night. So somehow we need to balance our cycle with the cycle of the Earth. Some exceptions can be there. Instead, if a person starts having a lot of haywire, he sleeps for an unwanted period of time during the day, having a difficult time in the night, having certain medical or certain other issues which needs to be evaluated. So these are certain reasons. Also, some amount of exercise is required for us. Physical exercise is required for us to keep us awake and keep us concentrated on the work at hand. Said so, also the manner in which we tend to concentrate during our studies, the posture we have, the amount of light available we have, the amount of monotonous stimulus if it has, supposedly the same dingy room, if it has, and lack of exposure to light, and this. And I've also felt the amount of less of temperature fluctuations we have during the day. See, normally normally a routine that we tend to keep ourselves indoor. Our ACs are always on inside a room, which is not the thing. Our body is accustomed to feel the temperature variations within a day. We should have light variations within the day. If we are likely to get us locked within a room with AC on, we are likely to have problems like this, and with a lot of concentration and memory problems and certain medical issues to deal with, specifically which have hypersomnia or increased sleep as one of the feature that needs to be evaluated. So that is how I see your problem.
Several questions, but of course we are also bound by our time, and Sister Swati, the principal, is also waiting to bring her remarks and then bring it to close. But there are some interesting questions that are coming up, like how to manage trust issues, how to manage, again, sleep has been one of the major subjects or topics that you dealt with. But then I recall your TEDx speech wherein you spoke about mobile and use of mobile and how that itself affects our sleep. But I'm sure we do not have the time to discuss all of this. But then I felt that the students asking about trust issues, and if you can just address for 2 minutes on how to deal with matters of trust or trust issues, and therefore students feeling helpless. And once you finish that, then of course I'll invite Sister Swati for the closing remarks, and then we'll conclude.
See, it's a very philosophical sort of a question, but see, all of us, we have difficult times, and all people are not good to us, and not everybody around us is likely to behave in a manner we want them to behave. See, if you ask me what is the most, there are three reasons for stress. This could be we have certain issues within ourselves, and we believe people around us, they cause a lot of stress. We want people to change around us. So once we start feeling that this is the reason for our feeling stressful, and if people change the way they are, it is likely that we'll improve. That is the least likelihood to happen. People do not change for us. It is difficult for us to change for other people, and similarly other people will not change for us. Since we have this thing in mind that it needs to for other people, it needs to change for them for us to improve, that is not likely. So this is an unexpected favor from other people in and around you. People are different by nature, people are different by their learning, by their biological things, so people will not change for you. So expecting the same level of interaction from other people around you, which you might call as trust, it is not likely to happen. So there has to be some amount of uh, buffer you have around us. There are people around you who will behave the way you want them to behave, and the people you would call them to be trust. So it's okay to have a couple of people around you whom you trust into, and whom you can talk about anything when you want. So not everybody would come into that standards, and for them you might not be that standards also. So to believe that all of us, we do not see things in black and white manner, all of us, we have shades of gray. There are people who fit into the way we want them into, and there are people around who will not fit. So that's okay. So don't expect people to change for you. That is what I feel. And do have your set of people around you, and do maintain a level of trust what they expect from you. So if you change a bit for them, probably they'll also change.
Thank you, sir. My request, Sister Swati.
Yes, Father. Once again, good evening to everyone. And dear Dr. Manu Arora, from the depth of my heart, I thank you for your enlightening words, encouraging words, and I'm sure all those listen to you carefully have been enlightened in many ways. I'm sure, like me, others also have been touched by some of your repeated thoughts. For example, insisting on good sleep, exercises, organized schedule for life, and how to overcome stress from various situations, as children have asked questions, and through the questions that put forward. For all these, I must say that we are enlightened this evening. And thank you for your patient hearing and being with us this wonderful hour and motivating us continuously. A sincere thank you to you, dear Father Chaku, for organizing this event. And I'm sure you are happy that we have benefited from these experiences in listening to the sharings and knowledge of Dr. Manu Arora. Once again, thank you. Thank you everyone for those who have been actively participating in this hour of our session on relieving our mental stress and helping us to study well.